You've been told a big lie your whole life. People say you should share everything about yourself. They say you should tell everyone your dreams and plans. But what if that's all wrong? What if keeping some things to yourself is actually the key to success? The most successful people don't share everything. They keep some things secret. They know that privacy can be powerful. Today, I'm going to tell you about 7 things you should never share with anyone. These are the secrets that can make you truly successful. Are you ready to learn the truth that no one else will tell you? This might change everything you thought you knew about success. Number 1, your dreams. Your dreams are the fuel that propels you forward in life. They're the North Star guiding you through the darkest nights. But here's the thing. Not everyone will understand your dreams. Not everyone will see the vision you hold in your mind's eye. And that's okay. Your dreams weren't meant for everyone's eyes. They're yours to nurture, to protect, and to bring to life. I remember a young man I met years ago. He had a dream of starting his own business, but everyone around him told him it was impossible. You're too young, they said. You don't have the experience, they said. But you know what? He held on to that dream. He didn't let their doubts extinguish his fire. And today, he's running a successful company, employing dozens of people, making a real difference in his community. That's the power of holding on to your dreams, of keeping them sacred. Number 2, your plans. Once you have a dream, you need a plan to make it a reality. But here's the catch. Your plans are like a map to buried treasure. You wouldn't hand out copies of that map to everyone you meet, would you? Of course not. Your plans are the blueprint for your success. They're the step-by-step guide that will take you from where you are to where you want to be. Now, I'm not saying you should never share your plans with anyone. There are times when you need advice, when you need guidance, but be selective. Choose wisely who you share your plans with. Look for mentors, for people who have walked the path you're on. They're the ones who can offer valuable insights, who can help you refine your plans. I once knew a woman who had a plan to revolutionize her industry. She spent months researching, strategizing, plotting her course. But she made the mistake of sharing her plans with everyone who would listen. And you know what happened? Someone else took her idea and ran with it. They beat her to the punch. Don't let that happen to you. Guard your plans, refine them in private, and when the time is right, execute them with precision. Number 3, we all have fears. It's part of being human. But here's the thing about fear. It's like a weed. If you give it attention, if you water it with your worries, it'll grow and take over your garden of dreams. That's why you need to be careful about sharing your fears. When you constantly talk about your fears, you're giving them power. You're making them more real, more tangible. Instead, focus on your courage. Focus on the steps you're taking to overcome those fears. That's where your energy should go. I remember a time when I was terrified of public speaking. The thought of standing in front of a crowd made my knees weak and my palms sweat. But I didn't go around telling everyone about my fear. Instead, I worked on it. I practiced in front of mirrors, then small groups, then larger audiences. And with each step, my fear shrank and my confidence grew. That's the power of keeping your fears to yourself and focusing on growth instead. Number 4, your struggles. Life isn't always smooth sailing. We all face challenges. We all have our battles to fight. But here's a piece of wisdom I want you to hold on to. Your struggles are not for public consumption. They're not entertainment for the masses. They're opportunities for growth, for learning, for becoming. When you're going through a tough time, it's tempting to broadcast it to the world, to seek sympathy, to look for validation. But let me tell you, that rarely helps. Instead, seek out a small circle of trusted friends or mentors. Share your struggles with them. Yes, but more importantly, share your determination to overcome those struggles. I've seen too many people get stuck in a cycle of complaining about their problems. They become defined by their struggles rather than their triumphs. Don't fall into that trap. Keep your struggles private, work on them diligently, and then, when you've overcome them, share your story of victory. That's what inspires people. That's what makes a difference.
Number finances. Money is a tool, my friends. It's a means to an end, not the end itself. But it's a powerful tool. And like any powerful tool, it needs to be handled with care. That's why your financial situation should be kept private.
There's a saying, money talks, but wealth whispers. There's a profound truth in that. When you start sharing details about your income, your savings, your investments, you open yourself up to all sorts of problems. Jealousy from some, unsolicited advice from others, and worst of all, people who might try to take advantage of you. I've seen friendships destroyed over money. I've seen families torn apart because of financial disputes. Don't let that happen to you. Keep your financial matters private. Work on building your wealth quietly, consistently. Seek advice from professionals, not from every Tom, Dick, and Harry who thinks they know about money because they read an article online. Number 6, your good deeds. Now, this might sound counterintuitive. After all, aren't we supposed to let our light shine? Aren't we supposed to be an example to others? Yes, absolutely. But there's a difference between being a positive example and broadcasting every good deed you do. When you help someone, when you contribute to a cause, when you make a positive difference in the world, do it because it's the right thing to do. Do it because it aligns with your values, not because you want recognition or applause. The moment you start doing good deeds for attention, you've lost the essence of what it means to be truly generous. I remember a businessman I knew. He was incredibly successful, but what impressed me most was his philanthropy. He donated millions to various causes, built schools in underprivileged areas, funded medical research. But you know what? Most people had no idea. He didn't put his name on buildings. He didn't hold press conferences to announce his donations. He simply did what he believed was right, quietly and consistently. That's the kind of person we should all aspire to be. Number 7, your next move. In life, as in chess, your next move can often determine the outcome of the game. That's why it's crucial to keep your next move close to your chest. When you broadcast your every intention, you give others the opportunity to interfere, to throw obstacles in your path, or worse, to beat you to the punch. This doesn't mean you should be secretive or paranoid. It simply means being strategic about when and with whom you share your plans. Think of it like this. A magician never reveals their tricks before the show. They practice in private, perfect their craft away from prying eyes. And then, when the time is right, they step onto the stage and amaze the audience. Your life, your career, your personal growth. These are your magic show. Work on your next move in private, refine it, perfect it, and then when you're ready, make your move with confidence and purpose. Now, let's dig a little deeper into each of these points. Let's explore why they're so crucial for your success and personal growth in the coming year. Your dreams? Dreams are the seedlings of reality. Everything that exists in our world today once started as a dream in someone's mind. The device you're using to listen to this, the chair you're sitting on, the building you're in, all of these were once just ideas, dreams in someone's imagination. That's why your dreams are so precious, so valuable. They're the first step towards creating something new, something that could change your life or even change the world. But dreams are also fragile. They need nurturing, they need protection, especially in the early stages. When you share your dreams too freely, you expose them to the harsh winds of other people's doubts and criticisms. And let's face it, most people are more comfortable with the status quo. They find it easier to point out why something won't work rather than imagine how it could. That's not to say you should never share your dreams. There are times when sharing can be beneficial. When you're seeking guidance from a mentor, when you're collaborating with like-minded individuals, or when you're ready to take concrete steps towards making your dream a reality. But be selective. Choose carefully who you share your dreams with. Look for people who will nurture your dreams, who will water them with encouragement and fertilize them with constructive feedback. Remember, every great achievement in history started as a dream. The Wright brothers dreamed of flying before they built their first airplane. Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream of equality before he led the civil rights movement. Steve Jobs dreamed of putting a computer in every home before Apple became a household name. Your dreams have that same potential. Protect them, nurture them, and when the time is right, act on them with all your heart. Your plans, if dreams are the destination, plans are the roadmap. They're the step-by-step guide that will take you from where you are to where you want to be. But here's the thing about plans. They're most effective when they're flexible, when they can adapt to changing circumstances. And that's why keeping your plans private can be so beneficial. When you keep your plans to yourself, you give yourself the freedom to adjust, to pivot, to change course without having to explain yourself to others. You avoid the pressure of sticking to a plan just because you've announced it to the world. You give yourself permission to fail, to learn, and to try again without fear of judgment. Think about it like this. When a general is planning a military campaign, does he announce his strategy to the world? Of course not. He keeps his plans secret, sharing them only with those who need to know. He maintains the element of surprise, the ability to adapt to changing circumstances on the battlefield. Your life, your career, your personal growth. These are your campaigns. You're the general. You need to maintain that same level of strategic thinking, that same ability to adapt and change course as needed. Now, this doesn't mean you should never seek advice or input on your plans. Far from it. Seeking guidance from mentors, from people who have walked the path you're on, can be incredibly valuable. But be selective. Choose carefully who you share your plans with. Look for people who can offer constructive feedback, who can help you refine your strategy, who can point out potential pitfalls you might have missed. And when you do share your plans, be clear about what you're looking for. Are you seeking advice, feedback? Support. Be specific. This will help ensure that the input you receive is actually useful and relevant to your goals. Your fears? Fear is a natural part of the human experience. It's our brain's way of protecting us from potential dangers. But here's the thing. In our modern world, most of our fears aren't about physical dangers. They're about emotional risks, about the possibility of failure, rejection, or embarrassment. And while these fears are real and valid, they don't need to control us. In fact, they can be powerful motivators if we learn to harness them properly. But here's why it's important to keep your fears private. When you constantly talk about your fears, you're reinforcing them. You're giving them more power over you. It's like watering a plant. The more attention you give to your fears, the more they grow. Instead, focus on action. Focus on the steps you're taking to overcome your fears. When you're afraid of public speaking, don't dwell on that fear. Instead, focus on the speech you're preparing, on the practice sessions you're doing, on the breathing exercises that help you stay calm. When you're afraid of starting a new business, don't obsess over all the things that could go wrong. Instead, focus on your business plan, on the market research you're doing, on the skills you're developing. This doesn't mean you should never acknowledge your fears. Self-awareness is important, but there's a difference between acknowledging your fears and letting them dominate your thoughts and conversations. Acknowledge them, yes, but then shift your focus to action, to growth, to overcoming those fears. And when you do need to talk about your fears, be selective about who you share them with. Look for people who will encourage you, who will push you to face your fears rather than avoiding them. Avoid those who will feed your fears, who will give you reasons to stay in your comfort zone. Remember, courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is feeling the fear and taking action anyway. That's what you need to focus on, not the fear itself, but the actions you're taking despite that fear. Your struggles. Life is full of challenges. We all face setbacks, obstacles, and difficult times. It's part of the human experience. But here's the thing. Your struggles are not your identity. They're not who you are. They're just what you're going through at the moment. And that's why it's so important to be careful about and with whom you share your struggles. When you broadcast your struggles to the world, you run the risk of becoming defined by them. You become the person going through a divorce, or the guy who lost his job rather than the complex, multifaceted individual you truly are. You also open yourself up to unsolicited advice, to people who think they know better than you how to handle your situation. Instead, be selective about who you share your struggles with. Look for people who will support you without trying to fix you, who will listen without judgment, who will encourage you to keep moving forward. These people are your inner circle, your support system. They're the ones who will help you through the tough times without letting those tough times define you. But even with your inner circle, be mindful of how you talk about your struggles. Instead of just venting or complaining, focus on problem solving. Talk about the steps you're taking to overcome your challenges. Ask for specific help or advice if you need it. This approach not only helps you move forward, but it also strengthens your relationships by allowing others to contribute to your growth in meaningful ways. And here's another important point. Your struggles are opportunities for growth. Every challenge you face is a chance to learn, to develop new skills, to become stronger and more resilient. When you keep your struggles private, you give yourself the space to work through them, to learn from them, without the pressure of other people's expectations or judgments. Think about it like this. When a caterpillar is transforming into a butterfly, it does so inside a cocoon. It doesn't broadcast its struggles to the world. It works through its transformation in private, emerging only when it's ready to spread its wings and fly. Your struggles are your cocoon. They're your opportunity for transformation. Give yourself the privacy, the space, the time to work through them. Your finances. Money is a tool, but it's a powerful one. It can open doors, create opportunities, and provide security. But it can also cause problems if not handled wisely. That's why it's crucial to keep your financial situation private. When you start sharing details about your income, your savings, your investments, you open yourself up to all sorts of issues. People might start treating you differently. Some might become jealous or resentful. Others might start expecting things from you. Loans, gifts, financial support, and then there are those who might try to take advantage of you to sell you things you don't need or involve you in dubious investment schemes. But it's not just about protecting yourself from others. Keeping your finances private also helps you maintain a healthy perspective on money. When you're constantly comparing your financial situation to others, or having others compare themselves to you, it's easy to lose sight of what really matters. You might start equating your self-worth with your net worth, or making financial decisions based on what others think rather than what's truly best for you and your family. Instead, focus on managing your finances wisely and privately. Set your financial goals based on your own values and priorities, not on what others think you should be doing with your money. Seek advice from qualified professionals, financial advisors, accountants, lawyers, rather than from friends or family who may not have the expertise to guide you properly. And remember, true wealth isn't about how much money you have. It's about having enough to live comfortably, to pursue your passions, to help others, and to leave a positive legacy. Focus on building that kind of wealth quietly and consistently, rather than on impressing others with your financial status. Your good deeds, kindness, generosity, helping others, these are all important aspects of a well-lived life. They contribute to your own happiness and well-being as much as they benefit those you helped. But here's the paradox. The moment you start doing good deeds for recognition or praise, you lose the essence of what makes those deeds truly good. When you keep your good deeds private, you ensure that you're doing them for the right reasons. You're helping others because it's the right thing to do, not because you want applause or recognition. You're contributing to causes because you believe in them, not because you want your name on a plaque or your picture in the paper. This doesn't mean you should never talk about the causes you support or the volunteer work you do. Sharing these things can inspire others to get involved, to make a difference in their own communities. But there's a difference between sharing to inspire and sharing to impress. Be mindful of your motivations. And here's another important point. When you keep your good deeds private, you give others the opportunity to shine. Instead of being the center of attention for your generosity, you create space for others to step up, to contribute, to make a difference. You become a quiet force for good, leading by example rather than by proclamation. Think about the people who have made the biggest difference in your life. Chances are they didn't do it for recognition. They didn't broadcast their kindness. Your next move in the game of life, as in chess, your next move can often be the difference between victory and defeat. It's the step that propels you forward, that opens up new opportunities, that sets you on the path to success. And that's precisely why it's so important to keep your next move close to your chest. When you broadcast your every intention, you give others the opportunity to interfere. Sometimes this interference is well-meaning, people offering advice or suggestions that might derail your plans. Other times it might be more malicious, competitors trying to beat you to the punch, or naysayers attempting to discourage you before you even begin. But it's not just about protecting yourself from external influences. Keeping your next move private also gives you the freedom to change course if needed. It allows you to adapt to new information or changing circumstances without feeling the pressure to stick to a publicly declared plan. Think about the great innovators and leaders throughout history. They didn't announce their every move to the world. Instead, they worked diligently behind the scenes, refining their ideas, perfecting their strategies. And then when the time was right, they made their move with confidence and purpose. Take Thomas Edison, for example. When he was working on inventing the light bulb, he didn't share every failed experiment with the world. He didn't announce each small step forward. Instead, he worked tirelessly in his laboratory, trying thousands of different materials before finally finding the right filament. And only when he had a working prototype did he reveal his invention to the world or consider the strategy of successful business leaders. They don't broadcast their expansion plans or new product ideas to their competitors. Instead, they work quietly, doing market research, developing prototypes, testing concepts, and then when everything is ready, they launch with maximum impact. This principle applies to your personal life as well. Whether you're planning a career change, working on a personal project, or even preparing to pop the big question to your significant other, there's power in keeping your plans private until you're ready to act. But remember, this doesn't mean you should never seek advice or input. It's about being strategic about when and with whom you share your plans. Look for mentors, trusted friends, or advisors who can offer valuable insights without compromising your ability to act on your plans. And when you do share your next move, be clear about what you're looking for. Are you seeking advice, feedback, support? Be specific. This will help ensure that the input you receive is actually useful and relevant to your goals. Now, let's take a moment to reflect on why these 7 things, your dreams, your plans, your fears, your struggles, your finances, your needs, and your next move are so crucial to keep private in the coming year. In today's world, we're constantly bombarded with messages telling us to share everything. We're encouraged to post our every thought on social media, to seek constant validation from others, to live our lives in the public eye. But there's a profound power in privacy, in cultivating a rich inner life that isn't on display for the world to see. When you keep these 7 things private, you're creating a space for personal growth and development that's free from external pressures and judgments. You're giving yourself the freedom to dream big, to make mistakes, to learn and grow without fear of public scrutiny. You're also protecting yourself from the negative effects of comparison. When you're constantly sharing everything about your life, it's all too easy to fall into the trap of comparing yourself to others. You start measuring your dreams against someone else's reality, your struggles against someone else's highlight reel. And that's a recipe for dissatisfaction and self-doubt. But when you keep these things private, you free yourself from those comparisons. You can focus on your own journey, your own growth, without worrying about how it stacks up against others. You can celebrate your victories, no matter how small, without feeling the need to broadcast them to the world. You can work through your struggles without feeling like you're falling behind in some imaginary race. Moreover, by keeping these things private, you're cultivating a sense of mystery and intrigue about yourself. You become like a book that people want to read, rather than a billboard that screams for attention. People are drawn to those who have depth, who have more going on beneath the surface than what they choose to display. Think about the people you admire most. Chances are, they're not the ones who share every detail of their lives. They're the ones who have a quiet confidence, a sense of purpose, a depth that makes you want to know more. By keeping these 7 things private, you're developing that same quality in yourself. But here's the most important reason to keep these things private. It allows you to focus on action rather than talk. When you're constantly sharing your dreams, your plans, your struggles, it's easy to fall into the trap of talking about what you're going to do rather than actually doing it. You get a false sense of accomplishment from sharing your intentions, which can reduce your motivation to actually follow through. On the other hand, when you keep these things private, you channel all that energy into action. Instead of talking about your dreams, you're working to make them a reality. Instead of sharing your plans, you're executing them. Instead of discussing your fears, you're facing them head on. Now, I want to be clear. This doesn't mean you should become a hermit or cut yourself off from others. Far from it. We all need connection, support, and community. But it's about being intentional about what you share and with whom you share it. Think of it like this. You're the author of your life story. And like any good author, you don't reveal every plot twist before the book is written. You don't share your rough drafts with the world. Instead, you work diligently, crafting your story in private. And then, when it's ready, you share it with the world in a way that has maximum impact. So as we move into this new year, I challenge you to embrace the power of privacy, to cultivate a rich inner life that isn't on display for the world to see, to focus on action rather than talk, to become the kind of person who has depth, who has substance, who intrigues others not by what they share, but by what they achieve. Remember, your dreams are the seeds of your future reality. Protect them, nurture them, give them the space to grow. Your plans are the roadmap to your success. Guard them, refine them, execute them with precision. Your fears are opportunities for growth. Face them privately. Overcome them quietly. Let your actions speak louder than your words. Your struggles are the forge in which your strength is tempered. Work through them with dignity. Learn from them in private. Emerge stronger without fanfare. Your finances are the fuel for your journey. Manage them wisely. Grow them quietly. Use them to create the life you desire without seeking the approval of others. Your good deeds are the legacy you leave in the world. Do them because they're right, not for recognition. Let the positive changes you create speak for themselves. And your next move, that's the step that will propel you forward. Plan it carefully, execute it decisively. Let your success be the initiative. As we stand on the threshold of a new year, full of possibility and potential, I urge you to take these words to heart. Keep these 7 things close to your chest. Not out of fear or insecurity, but out of a deep understanding of their power and importance in shaping your future. You see, life isn't a spectator sport. It's not about who can shout the loudest or share the most. It's about who can act with purpose, who can persevere through challenges, who can create real, meaningful change in their lives and in the world around them. By keeping these 7 things private, you're not hiding from the world. You're preparing to engage with it in a more powerful, more authentic way. You're building a foundation of inner strength and clarity that will serve you well no matter what challenges or opportunities come your way. So as you step into this new year, hold your head high. Walk with purpose. Let your actions speak louder than your words. Be the person who intrigues others not by what they say, but by what they do. Be the one who dreams big, plans carefully, faces fears bravely, overcomes struggles, resilient.